I'm going to tell you something that might make you question almost every decision you've ever made. The clothes you wear, the career you chose, the people you admire, even what you believe success looks like. What if I told you most of those choices weren't actually yours? Not because someone forced you, but because you've been following invisible rules your entire life. Rules you never agreed to, never questioned, and probably never even noticed. The scary part? The people who control their lives aren't always the smartest. They're the ones who can actually see these invisible rules. So before this video ends, what if I told you most of those choices weren't actually yours? Not because someone forced you, but because you've been following invisible rules your entire life. Rules you never agreed to, never questioned, and probably never even noticed. The scary part? The people who control their lives aren't always the smartest. They're the ones who can actually see these invisible rules.
The people who control their lives aren't always the smartest. They're the ones who can actually see these invisible rules. So before this video ends, I want you to test something. Pay attention to every moment you think, that's exactly how I am, because that thought might not belong to you either. Imagine a fish that has lived its entire life in a glass bowl. To the fish, the bowl isn't a prison. It's just reality. It never wonders what's beyond the glass because it has never seen anything else. Humans aren't very different. We grow up inside invisible bowls built by parents, schools, friends, social media, advertisements, and society itself. Nobody has to lock the door because most people never think about leaving. From the day you're born, you're handed a script. Go to school, get good grades, find a secure job, work for decades, buy a bigger house, own a nicer car, retire.
If everyone around you follows the same script, it stops looking like a choice. It starts looking like the only possible life. And that's the first invisible rule. If everyone is doing it, it must be right. Psychologists call this social proof. Your brain evolved to copy the crowd because thousands of years ago, following the group often meant survival. If everyone ran away, you ran too, even if you didn't know why. Today, the danger isn't wild animals. It's blind conformity. People buy things because other people bought them. They chase careers because everyone says they're prestigious. They spend money they don't have just to avoid looking different. Think about fashion for a second. A ripped pair of jeans can cost hundreds of dollars.
20 years ago, people would have laughed at the idea. What changed? Not the jeans, the crowd. The moment enough people accepted it, your brain stopped asking whether it made sense. It simply accepted the new rule. Now, here's where it gets uncomfortable. What beliefs are you following today simply because everyone else is? Most people never ask, because asking means risking rejection. And your brain hates rejection more than being wrong. Here's another invisible rule that's quietly shaping your life. Busy people are important. Have you noticed how almost everyone says the same thing? It's become a badge of honor, as if being exhausted automatically means you're successful. But think about it. A person working 16 hours every day might be making less money than someone working 4 focused hours. Yet society praises the first person. Why? Because we've confused movement with progress. Imagine 2 people. One spends all day answering emails, attending meetings, and constantly looking occupied. The other quietly builds skills, invests wisely, and spends hours thinking before acting. One looks productive. The other actually is. Your brain often rewards visible effort instead of meaningful results because that's what it has been trained to admire. The invisible rule isn't work hard, it's look busy. And those aren't the same thing. Now let's talk about one of the strongest invisible rules ever created: comparison. Here's a strange question. How do you know whether you're successful?
Most people don't measure success against their own goals. They measure it against someone else's life. A bigger paycheck, a nicer apartment, a better vacation, more followers, a newer phone. It's like running on a treadmill that speeds up every time someone passes you. You'll never reach the finish line because there isn't one. Social media.
Years later, adults call this maturity, but often it's just fear wearing a suit. History is full of people who broke invisible rules. Artists, scientists, entrepreneurs, inventors. At first, they were called unrealistic. Later, they were called visionaries. The difference wasn't intelligence. It was the willingness to look foolish long enough to discover something new. Here's another rule almost nobody notices. If it costs more, it must be better. Luxury brands understand this perfectly. Sometimes raising the price actually increases demand. Not because the product improved, because your brain connects expensive with valuable. It's called the price-quality bias, and companies use it every single day. Now ask yourself, how many things do you actually want? And how many do you want because owning them sends a message? The answer might surprise you. Here's perhaps the most dangerous invisible rule of all. Stay comfortable. Comfort feels safe,